So we're on page 159. Today's classes are also the schus. There's a Lippman ben Yeshua, who was a shlich of the Rebbe in Vancouver. Today's his yard site. Learning should be in his schus. And usually we say the neshama should have an elevation, and that's what we're asking for. But the elevation is that the neshama come back down here in the guf with Mashiach. That's the ultimate elevation. So what we had in the Mamar was describing the seven spheros and how they include each other. Way it is from the Nefesh HaBahamis. Then he described it from the Nefesh. The first one was just, I guess, Nefesh HaSichlis, Nefesh HaBahamis. Now he's going to Nefesh HaLakis. So on page 159, and we're in the middle of the page, it starts with the word chesed. The paragraph starts with the word chesed. So now, what is chesed of the Nefesh HaLakis? So again, we're using the same example that chesed is love. The love that Hashem has, the love that any person has to anything is called chesed, depending on what and who they love. Well, that determines whether it's Nefesh HaLakis or Nefesh HaBahamis. So chesed is the ava hativis, the natural love, sheish Nefesh HaLakis l'alakus, that the godly soul has a natural love for godliness. And that is because it is godly and it's one with Hashem. So therefore, just like a person loves themselves, the person loves those who are connected to them naturally, which is parents to children, children to parents. So too, we love Hashem naturally. Nefesh HaLakis. What's chesed sheba chesed? Again, it means when that love manifests in an open way of chesed. Sha'ava tivis HaLakis tivis galvus b'chol keiches shaloi. When the love for the Nefesh HaLakis manifests, that's chesed sheba chesed, which means it's not only in the heart, but it also manifests in the way I speak, in the way I act, and in the way I think, and the way I look, and the way I listen. Everything is affected by my love. That's the manifestation of chesed. So it's called chesed sheba chesed. This is the difference in the Shema we say every day. V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, you should love Hashem your God, v'chol levavcha, with all your heart, v'chol nafshecha, with all your soul. What is the difference? Love with all your heart, zu avalakiz belev. That means yes, love Hashem with all your heart, meaning that the entire heart should be filled with love for Hashem. What does it mean, love with all your soul? This is when the love to Hashem is pashet, as it spreads out, in all the faculties. Because I love Hashem, I want to use my brain to learn about Hashem. Because I love Hashem, I want to use my eyes to look at things that are holy and godly and refined. Because I love Hashem, I want to hear words of Torah, words of davening, and so on. Now, what is Gevura Sheba Chesed in this context? Abba zu mashpia. This love also has an influence on the person. Litches es taivas gufnis v'hanochas ha'olam. That those that a person that are physical or materialistic, he rejects. And also the hanachas of the perspective, the way which are different than the values of Torah. Because I love Hashem, I'm rejecting that. Rejection is Gevura. Gevura Shebachesed is listening as as it says, Oyeve Hashem Sinuro. Those who love Hashem hate evil. Or it says in Tillim, David HaMelech said, Tachlis Sinas Sinesim. I hate them with the ultimate of hate. And we know how the Alter Rebbe explains that, not hate towards the people, hates toward the klippa, the evil. And also in davening, we have that part in davening, V'ala Moshinim, that all the people that are informers and the wicked people amongst the Jews, and then it says they should be uprooted, they should be eliminated, they should be eradicated. So Mepharshim say also, it's not the people we're praying for, the klippa, the evil that's affecting them, that should be destroyed. What's the Teferes Shebachesed? So when we spoke about the Nefesh of Bahamas, he said Teferes comes from the word we take pride, like in Hebrew, lehit pa'er means to take pride. Not only that the person is the way he is, but he takes pride in his physical, materialistic pursuits. There's once a chassid that he himself was a chassid, but his brother was not a chassid. His brother, in fact, was a very wealthy person. So one time he went to visit his brother. His brother had a mansion, basically a lot of rooms. Each room was decorated beautifully in the way a very wealthy person could decorate the house. And he's showing him around. This room is for eating, and this room is for entertainment, and this room is for this, and this room is for that. He was a chassid who lived a different kind of lifestyle completely. So he said to him that there's an animal that loves to be in filth. And when it's in the filth, we know which animal we're talking about. It's the animal that's treif, and it's called a pig. And it's in the filth, and it's moaning and groaning. Why is it moaning and groaning? Because the filth goes only up to its nose. What it would really want is it should be higher than the nose. The whole head should be invested in it. Basically, what we're saying is he's walking around and he's taking pride of all these materialistic things, as if this is still not enough, more and more. So there's one thing where a person is blessed by Hashem to have what he needs so he can live comfortable. And again, halavai, every yid would have wealth, a lot of money that you can do whatever you want, whatever you need. But the pleasure that you have is not, I have a lot of money and therefore my status is such and such. The pleasure is that I can do so many good things with all this money. There was big news recently that someone bought Twitter for $44 billion. Wait a second, if you can buy something for $44 billion, how much money do you have in the bank? Oh, $240 billion. We can't even imagine what $240 billion is, but you know how much good you can do at $240 billion? Yet people, they accumulate in the bank, $240 billion. Next week, I'll have $250 billion. Wow, next week, $260 billion. But the thought that Hashem gave me such a bracha, I could help millions and millions of people with this money, that's what the Torah teaches us. So therefore, when a person takes pride in his materialism, that's the Teferes in the negative. When a person takes pride in his ruchnius, which means, like we say in davening, Ata v'chatanu mikol ha'amim, Hashem, you chose us, and you sanctified us, and you gave us a different language than the rest of the world. You gave us mitzvahs, and I'm excited, I'm so proud that I'm part of it. That's the Teferes Shebachesed. Vayigba libe b'darki Hashem. That he uses the pride to serve Hashem. There was a chassid, his name was Reb Mordechai. The chassid, if you remember the story with the Alter Rebbe when he was in jail, he was the chassid that he brought the Alter Rebbe kosher food, because in Petersburg, Jews weren't allowed to live. The only Jews who had to live there had a special license. And usually the license was based on that they were in such business that the government benefited from them, so they gave them a license to live in Petersburg. So they once asked him, and I think they say he was on the level of a Beinani. So and years ago, it was like unacceptable. Like now, we all live in big cities, but years ago, Yidden that were God-fearing always chose to live in a smaller shtetl, in a village. And the reason is, of course, in a city, it's very hard to maintain a proper level of Yirat Shamayim. You're amongst non-Jews, you're amongst areas that are not tznius, you're amongst things that they're pulling you in the opposite direction. So someone once asked him, how do you stand strong in such a city like Petersburg? So he said, well, whenever my Yetzirah comes and tells me to do something, I say, what? I'm the Alter Rebbe's chassid. It's inappropriate. Alter Rebbe's chassid to do something like that? No way. Wow. In other words, the pride that I'm a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, that's what helped him not overcome the Avera. So that's called a Yigba Liba. He lifted his heart, the Darkei Hashem. This is like we learned about the kosher chametz. Remember we said there's chametz that's no good and there's chametz that's good. If the gaiva, if this uplifted feeling makes me feel strong and therefore overcome my Yetzirah, that's the pride he's talking about. What's Netzach Shebechesed? Netzach. It means I love Hashem and I'm determined to overcome any challenges that's not going to let me serve Hashem, which means challenges that come from the Nefesh HaBahamis by Yetzirah. And Netzach is to take it to the end. By the way, talking about this subject, some people think when they're davening and they make a hachlata, okay, from now on, I'm going to be this and this way. I won't do this and this anymore. Okay, the next day comes, or the same day comes, 3 hours later, here I go again. Wow, can't believe it. I'm so fake. I'm so good for nothing. I'm such a liar to myself. I made a hachlata this morning, and 3 hours later, I'm doing the same thing again. So the truth is, it's not really true. What you did in the morning was emes. When you made a hachlata, it was emes. You really wanted to, you really meant to. But it's easy to make hachlata when you're inside the siddur or inside a shul or under a man when he's under his talus. It's amazing. You're in this bubble and you can make hachlatas. When you go out there and you're facing the challenges of Gashmis face to face, it becomes more difficult. So what could you do that your hachlatas that you make in davening should last for the rest of the day? What could I do that when I make a hachlata in davening, it should last and it shouldn't fall apart later? That's my question. What would be a good advice?
Like if you like it for yourself, like that like it's really important for me, so then like I really need to keep doing.
Right, so that's what I do. In the morning when I'm davening, I say, this is very important to myself. I have to keep doing it. Don't forget. Then when I go out there, what? I'm never going to lose my temper again. Then you start screaming at the other person, why did you make me lose my temper? Just because of you. I made hachlata this morning not to get angry. Now you're making me angry. We go again.
You can see like this situation, like Hashem is want to text, like to Hashem is like what you like to see this and you can choose not to react like the other way.
I know, so that's my question.
No.
I do make hachlata. I really mean it sincerely, but I see it's not holding Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now it's Thursday. What can I do today that it should last? Yeah.
At least to start.
One second. Yeah, Rivka, go ahead.
At least to start. And like, probably like to take my water, like not forever and ever.
Okay, that's one piece of advice.
Take small
Ariella, what do you want to say? So Rivka is saying to do one thing, one day at a time. Yeah.
Ignore the HR. It's like, okay, fine. I really intention, but the HR is.
Right. So ignore Yetzirah means as soon as you see him open his mouth, run away. Don't wait till he tells a speech and then you'll say, no, I don't agree with you, because then he'll convince you. As soon as he opens his mouth, which means as soon as I feel that Yetzirah is coming, like the train before it comes, you hear the whistle blowing, you hear the choo-choo. So when you hear the Yetzirah coming, we all know our Yetzirah. When we hear it coming, okay, that's another piece of advice. Anyone else? Did you want to say something, Rutam? I thought you said something, no?
Take small.
Small achlata. That's a little bit like what Rivka is saying. That's very true. Take small achlata. When a person takes a small achlata, they're thinking, big deal, a small little thing. But you don't realize when you take a small little thing, it's easier to do. And then when you do it, it gives you a certain sense of satisfaction and strength to go again. And next time you take it an inch further, an inch further. But the reason why I asked this question was because many moons ago, I used to teach Ovid Torah. I was a Bachar before I came to Mechon. In those days, every Bachar had the privilege and the schus to go into the Rebbe once a year on the day of their birthday.
Wow.
So,
Also the girls?
what?
Also the girls?
The girls, I don't think so. Girls would go in Yechidus sometimes with their parents. Let's say the father had a birthday, he would sometimes just go, if he wanted to, the whole family could go in on his day of his birthday. So that was their opportunity. So that happened more than once. The Bachram would share with me what the Rebbe told them, there's something they didn't understand or something they wanted to share. How do I actually do it? So a few times I heard this come up where Bachram asked the Rebbe this question. I make achlot and davening, and I feel that I really mean it sincerely, but it doesn't last. What can I do to last? So I heard two general answers that the Rebbe told different people. There's some variance a little bit, but in general it's the same. One person, the Rebbe said that after davening, to say an extra kapitel to them, to ask Hashem to give me strength, that whatever achlot I made in davening, it should last. Another answer, which is more common, heard it from more people, was the Rebbe said to share your achlata, what you made up, with someone else that you respect, whether a friend or mashpia, someone you look up to, and then you'll be embarrassed to break your achlata because they know that you made this achlata.
We embarrassed from other people?
Usually more than from ourselves.
It's very sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad, but it doesn't take the fact that this is the fact. This is human nature, that if I do something and I know that it's not the right thing, I say to myself, okay, whatever. But someone else, it's more embarrassing. So this is Sheminatzeach, that's Netzach. This idea that when I make achlota, I go through it to the end, no matter how difficult it is, that's called Netzach. And I guess when we come to a day like Netzach Sheba Chesed, Netzach Sheba Gvura, and especially when we come to the week of Netzach, and Netzach Sheba Netzach, that's probably a day that we get koyach to have this attribute of Netzach, to be able to make a achlata, have a certain feeling to do something, and take it to the end. Okay, page 160. Turning the page now.
Can I ask something about what you were suggesting for her from that day?
Yeah.
That it will stay inside no matter what.
I think that this doesn't mean it's from the outside. It is from the inside. But my nefesh Bahamas, my Yitzhahara, that's the part gets embarrassed of other people. So in order to weaken my Yitzhahara, to not to interfere, that's what I'm doing.
So you use
It's like I'm using the Yitzhahara's tools to fight against it.
Wow.
It says in Tanya, wrote down from Gemara, that you chop down a tree with a tree.
Wow.
Anyone familiar with that term? What does it mean? How do you chop down a tree? With an axe, right? What's an axe? A piece of metal, sharp, and the metal has a handle. What's the handle made of? Wood. Where does the wood come from?
Wow.
So I'm taking something from the tree, and with this, I'm knocking down the tree. Today, all Yetzaras were knocked out. That's it. Where do we go from here? Okay. So, yeah, we use his tactics. That's it. He's embarrassed. So we put him into a corner. He's not going to want to break his hachlata. What's hoitche b'chesed? Hoitche b'chesed is, remember we said it's the same thing like netzach, but it's usually in the reverse, in the gevura mode. Being that he loves Hashem, and as a result of that, he is very angry at those that fight Hashem, that go against Hashem, those that try to undermine Torah and undermine mitzvahs. He stands up strong against all those people that are heretics, and they are fighting Yiddishkeit, but take with the greatest strength, to humiliate them, and to uproot their influence on other Jews. So again, this is, like I told you, this is the time in history, more than ever, where unfortunately tens of thousands of Jews were influenced to go away from Yiddishkeit because there were Jews who wrote books and they wrote articles and they preached and they made fun of people that were religious. They made fun of them. And as a result of that, many people felt embarrassed being frum. And they made them feel like they're ancient and they're from, they're not living with the modern times, and they're from, they're not taking advantage of modern opportunities, all sorts of different ways of putting them down, ridiculing them. So you need someone to stand up to these people and fight their influence. So that's hoitche b'chesed, where the person makes a hachlata to go to the end, and I guess like the Frierdiker Rebbe himself did, where he was fighting the Avsektia. We know that he was fighting them even though they were threatening him with jail and threatening with execution and threatening with everything. He did not stop, and eventually he succeeded in having a network of yeshivas and kashrus and mikveh and Torah and mitzvahs underground all over Russia. So that's a Rebbe, but every one of us can do this on a smaller scale. Yisoyche b'chesed. What's Yisoyche b'chesed? We said Yisod is foundation, and Yisod means the bond, his kashrus, the bond, the mesirus nefesh l'Torah mitzvahs. Not only that I want to learn Torah and do mitzvahs, but I feel bound to it. I can't be without it. I can't live without it. There was once there's a story that was told, it's in the Sichas, so this is not just a story, but something that happened. When the Alter Rebbe went out of jail, at one point, one of the people that he met with asked the Alter Rebbe to promise him that he's going to meet with 3 leaders of those that are not Hasidim and debate with them the subject of Hasidus and not Hasidus. And the Alter Rebbe gave him the promise, and he met with 3 leaders. And there's interesting stories of what happened. One of them was someone called Rabbi Yeshua Tzeiku. And you might have heard this part of the story, that when before the Alter Rebbe came, he prepared a certain sort of test. He had a non-Jewish man that worked for him. But in those days, these people lived amongst the Jews, and they grew up amongst the Jews, and they spoke a fluent Yiddish as if they were Jewish themselves. No difference. So while when the Alter Rebbe came to his house, he said to him in Yiddish, go down to the basement and get some wine. He went down to the basement and he got the wine. And no, I'm making a mistake. This happened before the Alter Rebbe came. The Alter Rebbe didn't hear him speaking. I'm mixing it up with a different story. The Alter Rebbe didn't hear him speaking. He just walked to the house. There was already wine on the table. And the wine was really handled by a non-Jew. So it means it's not kosher, it's yain esech. And he wanted to see if the Alter Rebbe is a true tzaddik, he would know. Now, he had no intention to make the Alter Rebbe drink non-kosher wine. He had no intention that the Alter Rebbe should make a bracha and pronounce Hashem's name for nothing, because he was a God-fearing Jew. He just wanted to see if the Alter Rebbe would fall for it or not. So the Rebbe came and took the wine and he starts making the bracha. Baruch Ata. But then what happened was, as the Alter Rebbe said, Baruch Ata, his face became radiant and he became so transformed that this person was like in shock. He never in his life saw someone make a bracha and like be transformed like that. He got so overwhelmed by what he saw that he forgot to tell the Alter Rebbe, don't make the bracha. So the Alter Rebbe continued, Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam. But at the end he said, Shahakal niyeh b'dvari, and he drank it. Now he was really shocked. The Alter Rebbe said to him, by the way, this is not wine, it's honey wine. It's a drink. And that's the bracha on that is Shahakal. But now there's a shaila on all the wine in your basement. You sell it. In other words, Alter Rebbe detected that this is brought up by a non-Jew. But he told him, you should know that this is honey wine, and therefore it's not, I was able to drink it. And that was the first Shalom Aleichem, and he saw right away that he's not dealing with an ordinary person. By the way, regarding this thing, it has nothing to do with this, but I'm going from story to story, just to say what it means, how a Rebbe can detect and recognize not only Kedusha and Klippa, even little nuances, little fine, subtle things. There's a story with the Alter Rebbe that he once sent one of his chassidim to another city to go to someone who's called Reb Reuven Sefer. He was the Alter Rebbe's scribe. And he told him that he should write a few mezuzahs for him. So the chassid thought, if I'm going to the Alter Rebbe's Sefer, he must be an amazing Sefer, I'll make mezuzahs myself too. So he told him X amount of mezuzahs for the Alter Rebbe and X amount of mezuzahs for me. So he said, the mezuzahs for you I can give you right away. The mezuzahs for the Alter Rebbe will have to wait a few days. Okay. And then when they finish, he says, these are your mezuzahs, this is for the Alter Rebbe. And as he's going home, he's thinking, so what, my mezuzahs are not as good as the Alter Rebbe's mezuzahs? Probably makes no difference. And he switched the mezuzahs. Obviously, he was a little shvach chassid. And he told the Alter Rebbe, shvach means and that's not fair. So he went back to him and he said, I want to back my money for my mezuzahs. You know, for the Alter Rebbe, you write it like this. And why couldn't you do the same for me? So he said, I promise you, I wrote your mezuzahs exactly like I wrote the Alter Rebbe's mezuzahs. But the Alter Rebbe once asked me that when I write mezuzahs for him, I should write it only when there's a full moon. So I had to wait a few days. Now, how could you tell a mezuzah was written when there's a full moon or when there's not a full moon? The answer is a tzaddik, when he looks at something, just like we can see the Gashmis, he sees the Ruch Muzika differences. So the Alter Rebbe saw right away that this wine is wine that was handled by an angel. Why did I tell you this story? Because there was another discussion. That's why I told you the story. The other discussion was that the Alter Rebbe and him had a discussion about setting aside time for learning. And he said, in my community, everyone has a time for learning. In your community, you demand you should have a time for learning. What's the difference? That's all the same. Others said no. And he said, the difference is, by you, in your community, you make a kviyas in Zman. And by us, we talk about a kviyas in Nefesh. These are the words. The explanation is, kviyas in Zman means that a person should discipline himself, that if they have a shir every night, 8 o'clock, they're going to be there every night, 8 o'clock, and not skip and not miss. Or they have a quiz once a week to learn, or miss once a week, every week to learn. So it means I'm disciplining myself, but it's about disciplining in time, what we call in English, time management. I know how to organize things, I'll always never miss my learning. What's quiz benefesh? It's not about time. It's not about time management. It's about, I have such a deep bond with Torah that I can't miss a day of learning. The Rebbe once gave a mashal. It's like a person who hasn't eaten for a few hours. Now it's way deep in the afternoon. He doesn't say to himself, being that I didn't eat yet for 6 hours, I think it's the right thing to eat now. He feels something, I don't know if you know what this is, it's called hunger. You don't eat for a few hours. Your body demands that I haven't had any food. The body demands I need food. That's how the neshama demands I can't be without Torah. So it's not that I made a plan and I have to carry my plan. It's more than that. It's in the nefesh. I'm so bound to Torah that I can't be a day without learning. I can't be a day without what I set up for myself to do. I need to learn. That's called Yisod. His kashrus, to be bound to Torah and to mitzvahs, the Mesiras Nefesh. Someone told me a story of a chassid in Russia. Unfortunately, a lot of chassidim ended up in jail by the Russians. This chassid was a year in jail. And when he came out of jail, of course, the family greeted him. And the first thing they brought with him was the tefillin. He didn't put on tefillin for a year. And as soon as he saw the tefillin, he fainted. He fainted from the fact that he didn't have tefillin the whole year. In other words, it wasn't just, I didn't do the mitzvah. He was so connected to it that he when he realized I didn't have tefillin for a whole year, he fainted. So I'm not telling anybody to faint, just to be, we have to develop a bond with the mitzvahs. That's Yisod. What's Malchus Shebechesed? When all this comes to fruition, Shemedaber Tamid, that he's speaking words and letters of Torah and Tefillah, davening or learning. What we just described is the complete structure of Chesed, but in Kedusha. What we just did is Hasichlis. So what we're working on is we're elevating and we're refining the midas of the Yetzer Hara, that my Chesed and my Gevura and my Teferes and my Netzach Sheba Chesed and my Hoyt Sheba Gevura, everything should be directed towards positive things. Zeh was Usefartem Lachem, and that's what Usefartem Lachem means. Remember, the question in the beginning was, what does Lachem mean? Count to you. It's all about Asuas Lachem. Take the Lachem, take you, yourself, that it should be Toher Ubar, it should be clear and pure. What does the word Usefartem mean in Hebrew? You should count. There's another meaning to the word Usefartem. And that is, it's from the word shining. In fact, the reason why spheres are called spheres is because they're 10 shining lights. And that's why they're called spheres. So sphere has two definitions. One definition is counting, one definition is shining. That's like a sapphire stone. In Hebrew, it's called, in English, it's called sapphire. In Hebrew, it's called Even Sapir, which means a shining stone, a precious diamond that shines. So you should polish and shine your lachem. Your personality should be shining. And how do I do that? By directing my chesed, gvura, teferes, netzach yisod towards Hashem. Halachem or ani shel Yehudi, the true identity of a yid is midah shel kedusha. That's another point. Even though we say we have two identities, have a nefesh elokis, have a nefesh habahamis. Not only that, we also have the middle one, nefesh hasichlis. But who's the real me? And the answer is, according to Chassidus, no matter what a person does, no matter how a person lives, this is the nefesh elokis. So what we're doing is real lachem, the real essence. Midas ativius, and a mitzvah is l'reimus midas ativius. Remember, asked the question: why do we have to lift the traits that we have and lift it? And by the way, this goes even a step further. When we talk about lifting natural character traits, it's not only that instead of loving Gashmis, I should love Hashem. Instead of using my money to buy more buildings or to have a bigger account in the bank, I use my money for tzedakah, but I should do it not because I'm satisfying my natural character traits, but for Hashem. Which means there's two ways to do kindness. One way is simply there are people that are by nature kind people. They love helping people. And by the way, you can see that there are people that are not necessarily Jewish. They might not even believe in Hashem, and yet they can be extremely kind by nature. Is it possible? Yeah, there are such people. But that has nothing to do with Hashem. It's a natural character trait. Just like some people love music, some people love good food, some people love sports, and some people love kindness. Halavai, the whole world will be filled with such people. That's true, be a better world. But still, it's a natural kindness. And what it means to lift it is that even if I'm kind and I'm doing good things because it's natural for me, I should do it not because it's natural, but because of Hashem. Like one of the differences that are given is that when a person does kindness because it's natural, they're not going to be able to be strong when they have to be strong. In other words, if a criminal will beg you to give him something, give him money, and you just have pity because you're such a good-natured person, and you give them the money, and by giving them money, you're enabling them to buy weapons to, unfortunately, kill people. That's not goodness. That's not kindness. Yes, you're satisfying your feeling of kindness, but it's not really kindness. It's the opposite of kindness. So even kindness has to be, that's called lifting it. That's why the Omer has to be lifted. Then he's going to go into the three. Why is everything done with three? There are three people, and there are three tools that they use, and the measurement has to be three, and the baskets have to be three. What's that all about? So we'll do that tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, and finish the Maimon. Okay.